Welcome back to another edition of Quinte Connection. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, moving beyond Truth and Reconciliation Week, the key thing is action, and we're learning more and more these days about what's happening is on the Tyónnheht Mohawk territory. So joining us now is Callie Hill, the Executive Director of the Language and Cultural Center on Tyónnheht Mohawk territory. So Callie, thank you so much for joining us, and what can we find out more about the building and what's happening over there?
Thank you so much for the invitation today. Yes, I'm the Executive Director of the Tsi Tyónnheht Onkwawén Language and Cultural Center here in Tyónnheht. We started out as a grassroots organization 17 years ago, and here we are looking to build our own multi-million-dollar building now. So we've come quite a ways in the last 17 years. Our plans for the building are well into the works. I think you've seen the press release where we're looking to hire an architect right now, or we have recently appointed an architect. And so we've applied to Infrastructure Canada's Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Fund, which has funding specifically for Indigenous cultural-based buildings. So hopefully we'll hear about that. They said sometime in the fall, so we're anxiously waiting to hear about that, to see about funding, and that says that it's 100% of the funding for the building, so that's kind of exciting for us.
So what building are you in now, and how long have you been at the site you are at now?
Our organization has been in operation since 2003. We've been housed in different locations in the community that weren't being used, so surplus locations. We've been at the airport terminal. We've been at a decommissioned church. We've been in the basement of our library. We've been at a little house in the community. So the programs we run, I should mention, are a language nest, which is a language program for early years, from potty trained up to preschool. We have a primary immersion school from senior kindergarten to grade 4. We also have an adult language program, which is now a partnership with Queen's University. It's a certificate in Mohawk language and culture. And we do community outreach programs. And so for like the 17 years of our existence, we have kind of just lived here and there wherever there's space. Never have our programs all been under one roof, which brings its own challenges. So currently we run a senior kindergarten to grade 4 primary immersion school, and it is housed in a former day school building. So if you're not familiar with day schools, they had the same mandate as residential school, which was, erasing all of our values, our language, and our culture. So our programs are all language and cultural based. And so we feel very empowered that we are offering our immersion program in a former day school where we're doing the exact opposite of what that building was intended for. However, there still are challenges of not being under one roof. And so in our new building, we will have room for all of our programs. We'll have additional things that we can do, a teachable kitchen, a medicine garden, a replica longhouse. So we're looking also to expand into ecotourism, trying to find ways that we can sustain the building as well. There's also a really nice common area in the new building that we could use for workshops, meetings, celebrations. It could be rented out, it could be revenue generating. So we're looking at things like that for our building.
So Callie, how did you come to this role?
I've been with the organization since 2004. So I was the second full-time employee of TTO. And we're operated by a volunteer board of directors. And at the time, they were all trying to do the work before they realized they needed somebody in a position that could help carry their mandate forward. The mandate of the organization has always been to create more speakers of Ganyun Geha, the Mohawk language, in our community, because it is very critical here. We have very small number of second language speakers. So all of the programming we do is very, very important to our community, to our future generations.
How has it been going with the COVID-19 pandemic and protocols in place?
We were able to operate for the most part. We did have to move to a virtual situation. Our immersion school is much smaller than the mainstream school here in the community. So that was helpful. So last year, for also in our primary immersion, our parents drove their children to school every day, which was very helpful because we didn't have busing provided to us last year. And then our adult program operated virtually as well. Our office was closed for the most part. We're now opened again, of course, with all COVID precautions back or still in place. But we're starting to do a little bit more community programming. So hopefully we can keep moving in that direction.
What projects have you been working on? Because you mentioned just before this chat there was a book and there's a documentary in the works.
Yes, very exciting. We got funding through Canada Heritage last year to work on a project that was focused on residential school survivors. And that was previous to the announcements that came out of Kamloops. We were well into this project before then. And so we've produced a book. I'll just show you what it looks like here. It's a beautiful, it's called Healing Through Storytelling. It was geared towards survivors, families, and our community, trying to celebrate and commemorate and honor the residential school survivors. And so the book is really that. There's a whole section that's dedicated to pictures and history of the survivors in our community. We did a lot of research on the book, and we came up with a list of around 130 community members that attended residential schools between 1862 and 1962. So that 100-year period. Doesn't seem like a lot of people, but in that time frame, it was a lot of people. I mean, obviously our population was lower then. So we launched the book last week, September 30th, on National Truth and Reconciliation Day, is when we presented the book to the community.
So what about the documentary?
The documentary is based on a historical document in our community from the year 1800. There was some dissension in the community. There were a couple of murders that took place. And so we're working with that document and in hopes of developing a full length, like a 60-minute docudrama. So we're right now working on a trailer for that that's turning into be a mini movie. I think it's going to be 5 or 6 minutes long. It's so exciting. And it was all done with amateur actors and actresses from our community. So it'll be exciting, and hopefully that'll be launching early next year.
Really good to hear. So with the book and the documentary and everything else coming, where can we keep an eye on further updates, especially where we could purchase a book, if that's even an option outside of the Tannega territory?
We do have a website. It's www.TTO-Kenhteke.org. That's Gundege, which is the Mohawk word that we use for Tyónnheht. And on there you can find links to all kinds of things that we've done. We also have launched a children's language learning app, it's a website called Jita. So you'll find a link to Jita on there, and anybody can learn the Mohawk language from that link.
As we continue on Quinte Connection here, Callie, any updates for the community you want to share, especially with fundraising continuing?
We are in the middle of fundraising for our building. We are also fundraising for a bus for it's like an activity bus and for our children's school programs. We are a charitable organization, so we can provide taxable receipts. We have an account on Canada Helps. We just welcome support from anyone.
For those who wish to donate directly, Callie, how do they go about that?
We also can accept e-transfers at our email address, TTO@gundege.org, which you'll find on our website. And people are welcome to drop in and drop off checks if they like, or put them in the mail. You'll find our address also on our website.
And we'll have that all posted as well. Once again, Callie Hill, the Executive Director of the Language and Culture Center on the Tyónnheht Mohawk territory. Wishing you and the team very well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I was happy to be here today.